And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Hello, I'm meteorologist David Kramer with Alaska Weather. Thanks for joining for our aviation forecast. Starting off with a look at our flying weather on Monday morning, we still have low pressure out over the Bering Sea, kind of hunkered down in the central Bering Sea. That's bringing widespread IFR conditions to the Bering Sea, Aleutian Islands, Alaska Peninsula, and starting to push into southwest Alaska. Out over mainland Alaska, primarily VFR conditions from the north slope down through much of the interior till we start to get closer towards the Alaska Range and south central, where we will see some more MVFR conditions. Then down in the Panhandle, we are primarily seeing IFR conditions on Monday morning, but that will clear up to be primarily MVFR conditions as we move into the afternoon. South central Alaska will also start to clear up with just some lingering MVFR conditions over the mountains. Interior still looks to be VFR, but there will be some MVFR and IFR up along the Arctic coast. Then down in the Bering Sea, we're going to continue to see those widespread IFR conditions through the Bering, the Aleutians, and the Alaska Peninsula. Tuesday morning, similar conditions out for the Bering, widespread IFR conditions extending into southwest Alaska and the Bristol Bay area. Up along the Arctic coast, going to see some lingering MVFR conditions in the morning. And then down into the southeastern portions of the interior, MVFR conditions and some spotty MVFR conditions for south central. Down in the Panhandle, a mixture from VFR and MVFR in the southern areas to IFR and MVFR up farther to the north. Tuesday afternoon, going to clear up in the Panhandle, be primarily VFR, but there will be some IFR and MVFR just off the coastline in the Gulf of Alaska. South central through the interior looks to be primarily VFR, some IFR or MVFR in the Brooks Range, and then out over the Bering Sea and Aleutians, continuing to see those IFR conditions throughout both those areas and the Alaska Peninsula, with some MVFR conditions making it to the southwest coast. Taking a look at our passes starting up north at Anaktuvik, we're going to start off VFR, drop all the way down to IFR. That's going to be true for Adigan Pass as well. Lake Clark and Merrill will both start off MVFR, improving all the way to VFR in the afternoon. Rainy Pass will also be MVFR, improving to VFR. Windy Pass should stay MVFR throughout the day on Monday. Isabel also looks to be MVFR, but Mentasta Pass is going to be a little bit nicer there. VFR expected throughout the day Monday. Tanita Pass will start off MVFR, then improve to VFR conditions in the afternoon. Portage looks to be VFR throughout the day on Monday. And then Chilkoot and White both expected to be all the way down to IFR for the whole day on Monday. Taking a look at our freezing levels, we have an area of a little bit lower freezing levels at 8,000 feet, kind of circling around the Panhandle area. We also have an area below 8,000 feet right off the coastline, getting colder as we get farther to the north with some Arctic air moving in from the north. 10,000 foot line is going to be right off the Bristol Bay area coastline, and then getting up to 12,000 feet just south of the Aleutian Islands. Taking a look at our icing potential, above 10,000 feet expected for the eastern Bering Sea down through the Alaska Peninsula area. And up along the Brooks Range, Arctic coast, and down into the eastern portions of the interior above 8,000 feet is expected. And a small area in the very southern portions of the Panhandle above 7,000 feet expected there. Taking a look at our jet stream, a portion of the jet out of a southwesterly direction moving over the Panhandle area, about 75 knots there. Some weaker winds throughout mainland Alaska, but another portion of a little bit stronger jet out by the Aleutian Islands out of a westerly direction around 80 knots. Dropping down to 9,000 feet, we can really see the circulation around our low pressure system that's sitting out over the Bering Sea. Some stronger winds on the north side around 40 knots out of the east, and then on the southern side by the Aleutians, 40 to 45 knots out of a westerly direction. Some weaker winds out over mainland Alaska till we get up north by the Brooks Range, where we'll see some more northwesterly winds around 30 knots there. And then down in the Panhandle area, pretty light until we get to the very southern portions, 20 to 25 knots out of a southerly direction. Dropping down to 3,000 feet, clearing up for the Panhandle, pretty light winds there, much of mainland Alaska as well. But as we get towards the coast, we still have winds circulating around our low pressure system out over the Bering Sea. It's going to bring some southerly winds along the southwest coastline around 40 knots, westerly winds around 40 knots for the central Aleutian Islands, and then up north of our low pressure system, but easterly winds around 40 knots expected there. That's going to leave us with a few areas of turbulence below 3,000 feet for the central Aleutian Islands, and then off of the Kuskokwim Delta coastline, some turbulence there below 4,000 feet is expected. Alaska Weather, I'm David Kramer. Thanks for watching.